What's up, YouTube? It's NG, the Neon X, and I'm back. Today I just want to talk about real quick. Today I'm into the new iPhones and Apple accessories that were just announced. One of my viewers asked what my opinions were on the new devices and such, knowing that for the most part, I'm not really an Apple guy. I do have an iPad, and right now, at least until I can get to play around with the Samsung Tab S7 Plus, the iPad Pro to me is the best way to go. But as far as their phones are concerned, I've never really been a big fan. And I've had quite a few of them, and I always end up getting rid of them or give them to my daughters or whatever the case might be, as they seem to make much better use of iPhones than I do. But yeah, today Apple had an iPhone event for their new iPhone 12. This thing has been spoken about online and interwebs and Reddit and all kinds of places for quite a while now. And as it was with years before, there wasn't really much there. The phones pretty much looked the same as they did last year from my perspective. I did have an iPhone 11 for a bit there, so just kind of remembering what that one looks like. My wife still has her iPhone 11. She's almost completely locked herself into that walled garden. But I'm looking at the phones here. I have my iPad Pro. It only seemed to make sense to oh, well. How do I even go back? It only seemed to make sense to have, a discussion on the iPhones with an iPad Pro on hand. The first thing I want to say about this announcement and all of that is the bump in specs. It's the newer chip. So as always, they tout, it's generations ahead of what their competitors. There's only one competitor, Android. So that's the Qualcomm chips and the Exynos chips and whatever chips Huawei had. I don't remember their names right now. The names escape me. They tout that they're generations ahead of their competition. But in all truth, to the average consumer, they're not going to see this difference in power and productivity that these chips can put out. Because unless you are a power user in very specific areas, these chips are going to be underused on all devices across the board. Not just the A14 chips and the Snapdragon's 865s and such. Hold on there. They will be underused. Right now I'm recording this on my Surface Duo, and it's a Snapdragon 855. But while recording this on my lower screen, I'll show a picture and all of that. Let's take the picture right now so you can see what I was doing before I decided to actually take this thing. Pixel Ho. On my lower screen, I have Word, and I'm typing out my book as I tend to do these days. Now, this 855 chip, a chip from last year, is chugging along just fine with all the multitasking the Duo is known to do. And it's generations behind whatever Apple has in their phones, but their phones still aren't going to be doing what stuff like the Duo can do when it has to run two screens simultaneously, no matter what two apps you want to run. So I mean, it's only certain power users that are going to get who are going to be able to take full advantage of all the power, and I'm sure there's a lot of power there that these newer chips can put out. So as far as, a selling point to the new devices, I personally don't take the new chip set as a particular point of interest, because I know any iPhone I would happen to get would be able to run my gamut of tests and whatever just fine. The other thing, the design of the new iPhones, to me, maybe I'm wrong, to me, they look the same. And I really hate to say that, but every year I really hope Apple surprise me. That one more thing they often talk about. I think it was actually made famous by Apple. One more thing. And every year I hope that the one more thing is a newly designed iPhone, like when they released the iPhone 10. That one more thing was an amazing thing. I wasn't particularly keen on the huge notch. I've never been a fan of a large notch unless there was reason for it to be there. And even with their reason, the face unlock and all that, I didn't particularly care much for it because, my phone could face unlock and eye unlock and finger unlock and voice unlock, all kinds of unlocks. They had to get this whole new infrared system for face unlock, and that's fine. This new one, the iPhone 12, I was hoping, because I had heard about a iPhone that had no buttons, no ports. They got rid of the notch. Maybe it was a hole punch. All kinds of little design elements that would have made a new iPhone for 2020 just an immaculate piece of art and technology. But no, they kept the same design as far as I see. I could be wrong. The same type of camera hump, the same type of camera setup. Now, I'm sure that the internals are, next level and such, and a good generation beyond last year's phone. But from a just regular, physical standpoint, they seem kind of, for lack of a better word, boring. This design has been done, and I know that Apple, they aren't really one to really upgrade the look of their phones very often. They tend to recycle the old look and just improve the internals, and that's fine for most people. Even me, depending on the device. If it's a design I really like, don't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's how I felt about the iPhone. What was it, the 4? The 4. It was a wonderful design. Or was it 5? I think it was 4, where they finally added the extra layer of apps. I loved that design for that iPhone. Then they went to whatever they went to, and I lost complete and utter interest in anything that they had. But the physical design of the phone doesn't really inspire much interest in the phones themselves. Now, again, the internals, if you are one who is into the specs and the performance of the phones is going to be better than last year's phones, just because it's the newer chip and they've tweaked so many little things. But as an average user, I'm not an average user. With iPhones, I am, because again, it's not my preferred mobile device. But the average user is not going to be able to push that phone to its full potential. Now, the iPhone Mini that they announced, iPhone 12 Mini, I won't lie, that one caught my attention. Not because it wasn't iPhone 12, but because I was interested in how small it was. That and they were able to put a 5G antenna in there and keep the exact same chipset as the larger iPhones. So the technicality of the phone and the engineering of the phone is what caught my eye, and I can't lie, I do want to hold that in hand and just feel with it and play with it. Maybe even use it as one of my own phones, because the Mini did catch my eye in what they did with it. It's just a newer form factor for iPhones, and in all truth, it just might not be. I bought my daughter one of the first iPhone SE. Just know she's young. She wanted to have a phone like mommy and her sister, so we got her a little iPhone SE, and when I used it, it was amazing how small this thing was. Like, man, I can't even type. But when the original SE came out, it was a very popular device. So I'm curious to see if maybe this iPhone Mini is just a redone Mini or a redone iPhone SE. Because again, the shape does look kind of similar. You know, it's not hard corners. The edges are rounded. Maybe it is along the lines of the iPad Pro. It's a smaller iPad Pro, but no, perhaps. I really can't say. But the iPhones just didn't do it for me this year. I mean, they seldomly do. And every year I am cautiously excited with what Apple is going to bring out, because I really want them finally to pull me in, give me a reason to enter the walled garden and experience what they have. But I can't go in if all you are going to offer me is an Apple experience akin to your older models that I've already tried. I was never a fan of their grids. You know, I like Android. I like Windows. I like being able to decide how my machine works for me. So even with the introduction of iOS 14, it kind of piqued my interest with the phones being able to finally have the widgets there, and it was kind of like Windows Phone, which till this day is my favorite user interface. It's a shame that it died, but I tried it on my daughter's phone and all that, and it's a bit too much. It's not very well thought out, in my personal opinion, with how you should be able to move the widgets around and resize them and replace them, where they now have their app draw. I don't know what they call it. It's way too far over, and then to actually move it around to navigate through it is a whole other direction. To me, it just wasn't properly thought out. It's not very efficient in how it goes about maneuvering through that user interface. I thought, or I personally think, they could do a much better job. Come on, they're Apple. They should be able to figure this out. And I understand that, you know, the chip can now do so much with the photography and the Dolby and the how you can edit this file with Apple RAW and keep all of the what did I say? Keep all of that information as you do as everything right on the phone. So I do understand if you are a photography buff or into digital cinema, that just might be the device for you. But if I had to go with a phone that I wanted for the photography and the camera and how it's able to do movies and edit movies and files and all that, I might veer more towards the Xperia 1 Mark II, as opposed to what Apple is doing with theirs. Because I've used the Apple stuff, and again, not that interesting to me. Plus, Sony kept the headphone jack. Or let's not say kept. They brought back the headphone jack, which to me is essential if you're trying to edit on the go. Because when you're trying to sync that sound and that voice and all of that, any lag with Bluetooth throws all of that off. So, with that, the camera aspect of the new iPhone 12 didn't really draw me, and I'm sure it's amazing. And in the right hands, you could get some very quality work done with it in regards to films and coloring and editing and all of that. I have no doubt. But again, the average guy would be better, I won't say better suited, but would be just as suited with an older model and all of that. If you're 2 or 3 generations behind and your phone is starting to act up, not charging right, things like that, yeah, I can see if you were in the market for a new phone, you automatically jump to the newest model. If you got the 11 or the XR, what the case might be, even the SE that was announced earlier this year, which to me is a wonderful device. For that price, what you get is astonishing. Something like that would be better suited to the everyday phone individual, the everyday phone consumer. It just makes more sense for what you're going to do. You know, times are hard. You if you have the ability to, you can get the newer one, but I don't think the experience is going to be that different from, let's say, the iPhone SE, which is at least $300 cheaper than the iPhone 12s and offers a similar experience. Now, as far as price for the new iPhones, Apple said it starts at $699 for the mini, $799 for the regular, $1,000 for the Pro, and I think it was $1,100 for the Pro Max. And these prices are all well and good, especially the non-Pro models. It seems to fall in line with the what's considered the higher mid-range pricing for phones. Most flagships now are at the $1,000 mark. We're just under it. So to have your phone start at around $200 less than what is considered the flagship barrier is a pretty good deal, being that the 12s, all of them, are considered flagship devices. So one could say that Apple has a $700 flagship device. They could, if you really want to stretch what the iPhone 12 really was, or the iPhone 12 mini really was. But that's one of the things that they didn't actually say, and I only just recently found this out. Again, doing my research on the devices, trying to fill in what little gaps were missing, because I did miss certain parts of the Apple stream there, was that the price isn't actually the starting price that they did tout during the stream. It's actually $30 more. So that $699 price tag that they said was the starting price for the iPhone mini, and I keep going back to the iPhone mini because A, it's the cheapest and it's the one I have any type of interest in. It's actually $30 more. So it's actually $729 for the iPhone mini in its base configuration, and as you move up in storage, the price itself goes up. If you look here, they even say that the pricing starts $699 for the mini and $799 for the regular iPhone 12. Now, like I said, that is with a $30 discount from Verizon and AT&T. So if you're buying the device from T-Mobile or Unlocked, you are paying actually $729 for the base model of the mini and $829 for the base model of the regular. Now, it's only a $30 difference, but there is a psychological barrier that you need to break when just hearing those numbers change. The 6 in 600 jumps to 700. Now, it's not a $100 difference by any means, but your mind is saying, well, that's a lot more now. I'm now paying $700. You don't get away with saying, oh, I'm only paying $600, though it's $699. So there's a little barrier that that a consumer has to break when they go to make this purchase at the actual price, which is why I would assume Apple and Verizon said starting at $699 without going into the fine print and saying starting at $699 on contract with Verizon and AT&T, because to buy it unlocked, you need to be paying $700 plus or $800 plus. To jump up in tiers, as you see, 64 gigs is $129, 128 gigs is $779, and 256 is $879. So the price does start to creep up as you increase your storage size. And if you were not into the mini, let's add $100 on top of all of that. So it's $829, $879, and $979. So you're looking at, again, flagship pricing for what I guess you could call a flagship device. But the way Apple is positioning these things, this is more of their high-end mid-tier device, and their pros are the actual flagship devices. They come with the better colors, the better screen, the better features overall, the camera and all of that. And those start at the $1,000 mark. Again, another psychological barrier you have to break if you want to put, again, down that much money. Because even now, I thought $1,000 phones have been around since the iPhone 10, and it's kind of hard to justify paying $1,000 or more for a device that's not really doing that much more than their mid-range counterparts for the average consumer. So, was I surprised? Yeah. When I first heard $699, I was like, oh no, I said, no, that's about the same price as the Samsung S20 FE. Now that's a really good phone, and again, that's a higher end mid-tier device. But that phone also offers more, because for that $699, and that's not with a carrier discount. Yeah, so for that $699, you get the same 5G. You get at least the most powerful chipset that Android has to offer. But you also get the 120 hertz screen, which you don't actually get with the iPhones. Now, 120 hertz screen, again, not really a selling point to me, because I go back and forth from 120 hertz to 60 hertz, and it doesn't really bother me. But a lot of people say once you see a 120 hertz screen in action, you can't really go back to a 60 hertz screen. And iPhone didn't offer the 120 hertz screens on these new models. They did offer 5G, so they're slowly coming up to what is becoming an industry standard for mobile phones. But they are still holding back on the 120 hertz refresh rate. So for $699 on the Android side, you could get a Galaxy S20 FE 5G with all the bells and whistles of current phones, or for $6.99 if and only if you are on Verizon or AT&T, or $7.29 if you want unlocked or on T-Mobile. You get a Apple device with most of what the I keep calling it the F20, most of what the S20 FE has to offer, but not quite. And again, that's only the mini one. The regular one, the price is $800 more, and you're going to very obviously get less, simply because that's how they're offering the device. So that's one of those things to think about when deciding exactly what is for you. I mean, if you are firmly in the Apple camp, I know no amount of comparison to similarly priced and specs Android devices will steer you away from what you know and love. But if you're a little bit more open-minded, it is to take all of this into consideration before you make that purchase decision. What exactly are you getting for that price, and what is the best use of your money, as things are kind of hard now with everything going on in the world. Now, another thing that they offered that I thought was quite nice was this line of MagSafe attachments for their devices. Now, it's a magnet built into the phone that, I guess for the most part, will help align the phone on a wireless charger, because it's a magnet. So it will stick, the phone, it won't move, and you almost always get the exact position for your wireless charge. But also what they did was they made a bunch of cases with accessories that also make use of the MagSafe. Like there's a little case that you can put a wallet on the back. Not really my thing, but I can see how that would be useful. They have a thing there where it's a dual charger that can charge your Apple Watch and your phone, and it aligns up with the MagSafe. They also have a little case, a little pouch type of case, where when you put it in the safe, connected to the case and made the little window illuminate with the time and date, so your phone is completely covered, but you can still get relevant information. So I thought that was kind of cool. Not anything world changing, but it's nice to know that Apple is trying to do something kind of different with their line. But what Apple has there is I think it's pretty good if you do happen to get an iPhone 12. I totally expect to see a lot of these MagSafe, the cases and the wallets all over. It just seems to go hand in hand. So not only get a nice little device, but you get bragging rights too. Now, aside from the iPhones, they also announced what's the thing called? Hold on, let's check the iPad real quick. Yeah, here we go. This guy right here, the HomePod Mini. Now, I joined the party late, or the stream late for this thing. So when I came in, they were talking about how it can sync to all your other iPhones. So when you talk to it, everyone who sync to your family group, I assume, will be able to hear what you're saying. So if they're wearing their AirPods or they're in their car, as long as there's Apple CarPlay going, or they're playing through their AirPods, wherever they might be, whatever you say will walkie-talkie throughout every device, so no one will miss whatever the what was it? No one will miss whatever the message is. So I thought that was neat, a nice little way to keep the entire family together, no matter where they are. That message goes through to everything. That was quite cool. The size of it, again, it's another small smart speaker. I like the way they changed it up from the original HomePod. Personally, I think the original was a blemish on their reputation. It didn't do well. They locked it down too much for even their own fans to be able to properly use the device. Because I know, as much as Apple wants to be the is-all, end-all to your everyday services, most people don't use iTunes or Apple Music unless they have an Apple device. And even when they do have an Apple device, a lot of them are going towards Spotify and YouTube Music and things along those lines. I know I personally don't use Apple Tunes or whatever it is. We have Spotify and YouTube. It's just the way it is. And we do have Apple devices in the house. Just their services don't really interest us much. Just the way it's always been. So one of the main things for me with the HomePod Mini is, or was, will it be locked down like the original HomePod? And I missed that particular aspect when they talked about it. So when the stream was done, I did my little research real quick, and I was surprised and happy to know that yes, it does work with other third-party streaming services. Not right out of the box, not right away, but eventually it will get there. So that means eventually I will get one. So if you've seen my channel, I love to compare and contrast and things along those lines. And I've wanted to compare and contrast my speakers with the HomePod for a while now. But I was pleasantly surprised to find out that this one will eventually work with third-party streaming services. So as soon as it does, whether it be this month, next month, whenever, I'll be sure to get one because I do have an interest in this device. Yeah, they priced it aggressively against Google's offerings and Amazon's offerings. So competition is always good. I guess right now it would come down to the sound quality of it all. How does it sound? If it sounds good, and it's able to fully understand what you are trying to say, and there's no inputs or it's not even an input. There's no misunderstanding when you are trying to speak to it and all that. It might just be a nice little addition in general to any household, because at that price, Apple does make some quality wares. So if it does sound good, it carries that nice bass, that even sound. It can, even with its small size, if it can nicely encompass a room in good audio, it might be a nice little device to have. So I can see some benefit there. But I think that's really it. But I really do think they need to step it up in the design, in the hardware, and in what they offer, because they continuously recycle the same things, and to take old tech and flaunt it as new, like for example 5G. It's old now. It's boring. 5G is nowhere near ready for use as they would have you believe. Most 5G speeds are not much better than 4G speeds in most areas. So to tout 5G as a possible reason to make a purchase on any device is folly. At least to me, 5G isn't ready. They just you use it as a catch line to catch consumers who just don't know any better. So, with that said, I just wanted to share my thoughts. I know I kind of rambled on there, but that's just how I do these things. I just want to share my thoughts on the Apple event, what caught my eye, what interested me, what I was into, and what I was not. So, with that said, my name is Angie, the Neon X, and the Apple 2020 event, this is what I'm into.